Yes, here we are once again. If you're watching this live, of course, that means it's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday, which is always, at least for the last 7+ years, time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can find us in many places. If you're on Facebook, it's the Temptations Beach Facebook page. If you're on YouTube, it's the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. And of course, you should be following @Temptations on Twitter or X, whatever it is you call it. I, of course, am Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs that you can search if you feel like it. He is Beach. He loves hemp. He is high above the Hemptations and the Flower Factory in Northside Beach. How are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
Steady as she goes. Steady as she goes. We're officially full blown into the whole holidays of everything, and so
Early
we'll
Tyrants.
see. But I should say steady as she snows as well.
Right.
Or steady as he snows. I don't know. I don't want to even sound steady as it snows. I don't want. I don't want to sound sexist in any way. But anyway, remember, folks, welcome. Remember, welcome to the High Noon Hemp Show. I am Beach. It is true. He is the Stoner Jesus. He pushes the buttons and he makes me look good just sitting here talking to you about hemp. What else needs to be said? Remember, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy.
Soon,
possibly.
Yes. Okay,
Soon,
right
with an asterisk. We'll see. We'll see where that really at. What happens? Hey, Stoner, do you know what else today is?
Oh, Lord, we're doing this. Okay, what day is it, Beach?
Hemp Day. I even got it right this time. Hemp Day. It is true. It's High Noon Hemp Show Wednesday, high noon. So it's Hemp Day. All right, let's go ahead and put our peace signs to our hemp, and I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all.
Indeed.
All right, well, just 337 days to remove Section 781 from the final appropriations package. That's November 13th of next year, folks. That's the countdown. We're keeping it going until the ball gets changed and whatever has to happen. Things are going on. We'll see. We'll see, in all honesty. All right, well, let's just jump right into the product spotlight. 4 from the store, 1 from my door. The first one, I just found these. I haven't had these out on the shelves for a minute as I'm still packing. We rearranged. You gotta come down. We've done some rearranging. Still working on getting everything out. But this is basically our hemp wick selection. You got a couple different brands here. You got Hemp Lights. You got iTel. The bottom one, I think, are Randy's. Yeah, the Randy's. So you got some different options. The ones that hold the Bix, they have the hemp wick on a roller and it attaches to them and then makes it easy. The other ones you can just, have in your pocket and light and use when you want to. So if you're a hemp wick burner, we got a good little selection. I don't have the big ball. We used to have the big balls. That's right. Hemptations has big balls of hemp wick on occasion.
Rumor had it.
Oh my gosh. And so it's been true before. And there's going to be more balls here on the product spotlight. And again, not planned at all. Pure improvisation here on the High Noon Hemp Show, all hemp related. The next product, these are the Swine Army. And so they all come with a little glass oneie. And they're a little bit different in a sense that some of them, like you can see the bottom one on the left corner, it actually has the piece where it's for the true lazy smoker, because you don't have to take your oneie out. You just bend it up and put it in front of the lighter and then light it. So they all hold a oneie. that they come with, and then a bic. You can put a bic, and I think, and I might have to test this. I think we should be able to put clippers in there, and I should know because we have a better selection of clippers right now. Because bics became very hard to find. They're probably easy to find again now. I don't know what the tariffs are doing to the lighter industry, but it can't be good. The lighter world. So anyway, these are the Swine Army. Re-legalize pot belly pigs is their tagline. I love it. All right. Next, we have cards. I promised them I'm going to keep the cards coming through the holidays. So no matter what holidays you celebrate, these cards, which are the nature flections. I can never get it right. But these are handmade. This is handmade hemp cards. And I think these are great for, say, winter solstice. If you know someone that celebrates the winter solstice, this would be a good card to send them. Hemp earth friendly. You didn't have to cut down a tree to make the card to begin with, and then celebrating the nature, which is what most solstices do in their own way or another, in some form or another. So and then of course there's a mosquito, and the mosquito has always been my symbol of hemp, because when you look at the top view of a mosquito, a lot of times their body tends to look like a hemp leaf. And so I've always looked at the mosquito kind of as the animal that represents this. In my entire hemp life, I've done this. And it's kind of funny, this is probably the first time I've actually really talked about it. But I've always had an appreciation for the top view of mosquitoes. Or not mosquitoes. What do I keep calling this thing a mosquito for?
I'm not sure.
That's a dragonfly. I'm like, what?
Okay.
It's not a mosquito. I don't know why I have mosquito on the brain.
It's a much cooler bug.
Yes, dragonfly. A dragonfly from the top looks like a hemp leaf. And what's interesting is I do believe there is now a dragonfly hemp company. I'm not positive. Now, I know there's a dragon hempware, but if there's not a dragonfly hemp company, there should be one. Because from the top, a dragonfly, if you look at the top of a dragonfly, a lot of times, to me, I think it's the one, it looks like a hemp leaf. It can look like a hemp leaf. Not a mosquito. Screw mosquitoes. I don't need to give mosquitoes credit for anything. They're like the biggest murderers on the planet.
Right.
I can't support that. I mean, I'm all about supporting nature, but mosquitoes straight up kill.
Right. Can't support nature's murderers.
Yeah. I don't think dragonflies are a threat to humanity unless we wipe them out and then we realize how important dragonflies are to nature. Now, we don't really, no one really cares, which I love. No one really cares about dragonflies. They don't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
They don't land on humans. They're no threat to humans. So most people, I think, are they're pro dragonfly.
Yes.
As well. I think we all should be. Again, I'm making all this up as I go along, folks. That's all I can say.
Right,
How about a big box of balls? Let's see that big box of balls. Let's go ahead and get that going. There it is.
Even better.
Big box of balls of twine. If you need twine, for a holidays project or just a project period, I think that the hemp jewelry thing is going to come back. So maybe you want to start making hemp jewelry again, or for the first time, maybe do some hemp small macrame. I want to call it. Make some stuff. Who knows? We got all the colors except for natural. I do need to figure out how to get some naturally colored hemp balls in. Because naturally colored hemp balls are probably the best out of all the balls. If I was to, rate the balls from 1 to 10. So, and only because they're undyed. I mean, come on, that's natural. As natural as you can get. They're naturally colored because they're undyed. And I'm not dishing on the dye in this box. I'm just saying, undyed balls of hemp are the best.
Undyed balls are better. Yes.
Undyed balls are better. Let's just stick with that. I cannot play the straight man because I cannot keep the straight face. So I'd be a terrible straight man as an actor.
This is a family show.
It's a Saturday Night Live joke. I just saw this on Saturday Night Live once where they talked about balls a lot, and so
Right.
I'm just it's an homage to Saturday Night Live.
Fans.
That's all I can say. Okay. Before this gets R-rated, let's go ahead and get to my product, which is my clipboard, which I have been using a lot more. I feel like I've gone back. Not that I didn't have a clipboard, 25 years ago, 30 years ago when we opened up Hemptations. We didn't have hemp clipboards. I did have a clipboard because I've always had clipboards in my life. But I feel like, I've gone back because I'm making signs again. I'm taking the thicker hemp paper that I have and making signs for the store. And I'm kind of going really full circle from, when we opened up and we, did everything ourselves. From, the advertising we did was running around for shows and putting flyers under people's wipers, which, in the long run, I learned to hate. And I was like, man, this isn't right. I'm touching people's cars. We just tried to hand them to people as much as we could, honestly. I never felt good about putting a flyer under somebody's car. But anyway, there it is, my clipboard. And, I'm going to get this is actually a picture probably of my clipboard when I first made it or took it in. And I will actually get an updated picture of this clipboard now, because you can see that it has been used, and I can show you how it's kind of almost deteriorated even a little bit, like part of the corner. It's kind of interesting. And again, I've been using it and carrying it around and whatnot for, I want to say 10 years, since and I have more than one hemp clipboard, or I did. I don't know if I still do. But anyway, there you have it on the High Noon Hemp Show. 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Indeed.
Here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Which brings us to everybody's favorite segment, the beachwear segment. Of course, Beach has a lot of hemp stuff. So much hemp stuff that he may have more hemp stuff than anyone else alive on this planet right now. Of course, there's an organization that keeps track of these things because Beach is set and holds many hemp records. There's an organization we all know of that keeps track of all these records, but their official policy is that hemp sucks, cannabis sucks. They will not cover any of that ever for any reason. They'll cover pretty much everything else, but not hemp and cannabis. So we like to see.
They have the world record for denying world records to cannabis.
They will chronicle that record before any hemp records. They'll chronicle their own record of ignoring hemp before they will check out hemp. Of course, they can't do that because then they have to acknowledge hemp. So maybe that's against the rules as well. I don't know. I'm not against world record, vice president or whoever runs that crap. In any case, we will chronicle Beach's records, his hemp records, whether it's clothing and other things. The beachwear segment, of course, is the clothing. And we'd like to see what the Guinness World Records is up to, what they're focused on these days. Most of the time, it's quite stupid and useless. Today, it's pretty useless, but it's actually, if you like pool, it's kind of cool. It's World Trick Shot Day, or at least yesterday was.
Oh.
This guy right here, he set a record for trick shots. 71 trick shots, I believe, in an hour. Let me go double check because now I'm forgetting what the record was. Yes, 1 hour. Nicholas Nicoladius, which sounds like a fake name, but that's fine. He completed 71 pull trick shots in 1 hour. Useless in every sense of the word, but probably very cool to see and to watch, and probably a cool record to hold. Is it as cool as Hemp? Of course not. But that's what the Guinness World Records is focused on these days. When we're talking about Hemp, well, that guy's making trick shots.
You know,
So,
as a billiard table owner, I will say that that would be fun to watch.
indeed, it is pretty cool. Not as cool as Hemp, but that's fine because the Guinness World Records made it clear: no hemp, pull underpants, and how many underpants you get on in 10 seconds, how many things you can crush blindfolded with one hand. Those things are cool. Hemp, not so much. But we will take care of it. All I have to do with Beach, and again, as I've said many, many times before, if you see Beach out and about in public, all you have to do is ask him this question. He will literally stop and tell you all the hemp stuff that he is currently wearing when you ask, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you're going to know. You're on the High Noon Hemp Show. That's a head case hat. A head case hat. One of my oldest hats out there for sure. The jacket is, in fact, the oldest hemp jacket or a hemp hoodlam jacket that I own. This is the hemp hoodlam jacket that I got when I went to Amsterdam and hung out with the hemp hoodlam guys at Hemp Hoodlam in downtown Amsterdam, the shopping district of downtown Amsterdam. And so I think, and I don't know, I'm terrible with. I've done so much in my life, honestly, that I can't tell you a specific year. I would guess that this jacket is possibly going close to on 20 years old. And the only issue that I have had, it's still holding up just nice. And again, the only issue that I've had with it is non-material related. It's stitching. There's just a little part of the pocket that's starting to come unstitched. This is something that I say about quality hemp clothing or quality hemp material is 9 times out of 9, if something goes wrong with clothing that's made out of quality hemp material, it's the stitching. That is usually the case. I've come across material that is not as good, and it kind of can deteriorate if it's not the right material, but the right material anyway. So that's my oldest hemp hoodlam jacket right there, folks. Part of my hemp records, I suppose. And then that shirt, never seen though. The shirt on the top, never seen on the High Noon Hemp Show. What are you wearing, Beach? I'm almost positive that's Dash Hemp. That's a Dash Hemp long sleeve. And then underneath it is the Hemp Company, Hemptations University T-shirt. That's a Hempy's belt. They're holding up my Patagonia pants. That's right. That's just one of some of my Patagonia line of clothing. In the pocket there, per usual, is that Green Springs technology pen. I have many that I have in different places and carry in different ways. But there she blows. Those long johns, my long underwear, never seen on the High Noon Hemp Show, but I am breaking them out this winter. It's already here, even though the winter solstice has not happened. Winter has hit us here in the high state area, and so I'm breaking out all my long underwear. And so never before seen 2 items on this particular outfit, never before seen here on the High Noon Hemp Show. And then, of course, my favorite combination on my feet, my Kind Hemp and Wicked shoes, Wicked boots, Kind Hemp and Kind socks and Wicked boots. I knew I'd mess it up. Kind socks and Wicked boots. So there you have it, folks. If you're curious, it's like half maroon, half fuchsia. If I was to, it's like it started with the shirt, and kind of the maroon look. And then I realized when I got here under the lights, that shirt's kind of more of a what I would call fuchsia. Anyway,
All right.
for your eyes first, here on the High Noon Hemp Show, what are you wearing, Beach? Segment. And also, sticking with the theme, we're going to go ahead and show another one of the Hemptationsville, I think is what the name of the town is. Holidays commercial. So here it is, and we'll be back for some news.
It's that time of year for shopping day and night. Temptations for the holidays will make your pipes burn bright. Make a shopping dash, come raid Temptation Stash. You're sure to find great hemp gifts while saving lots of cash. So have some cheer, get in here, everybody get along. The holidays happen once a year, it's 420 all year long.
Are you having temptations?
For 20 years.
Having temptations for 20 years.
Okay. Also, as promised, if you were here last week, you're like, Beach, it's the same commercial. What's going on? But if you were paying attention, and I know some of you were, you probably heard bong at the end there. That was the version that didn't make it onto TV. So we made the original version, which was one, everybody get along, bong, everybody get a bong. It's kind of how it played out. They were kind of like, no, we probably can't do that. And this was, again, 10 years ago.
Right.
In a year, once again, because I have predicted that marijuana, what they call marijuana, will be federally legal, so will the word bong. Because if you don't know, in the controlled substance list, bong is one of the only specific words that the government has prescribed intent on. Okay? Normally we have this freedom of speech thing. It's like, I can call anything I want for any reason, and that's not a crime. All right? But they literally put the word bong. That's why we never sold bongs. Technically, because there's no drug paraphernalia laws in Ohio, we sell bongs again. But if the federal government wanted to have a problem with me calling something a bong, technically, they could. It's what got Tommy Chong in trouble with his business and subsequently raided in his home, and then they found so much cannabis that they put him in prison, which was the biggest joke ever in the history of subversion. And that's all it was, man. People didn't even realize how much that was a subversive act by the federal government. Luckily he lived like a king when he was in prison, as well he should have. But it was the word bong that set all that in motion. Because once again, the word bong implies intent according to the federal government who has put it in the controlled substance list. If you ever go and list the section of, it's like, I don't know, at least, I'm going to guess 50 to 75 descriptive words of some of the dumbest things as to what makes something drug paraphernalia. Because it's basically like anything you can smoke, blah, blah, burn, bleed, blah, blah. I mean, it's just so many things. And then bongs right in the middle. Bongs. It's like right in the middle of this list. It's sort of like one of the biggest jokes. And again, no human out there that's ever fought against cannabis, I think either way, has actually ever gone and read the cannabis-related part of the Controlled Substance Act of 1969, which changed the spelling of marijuana,
Mhm.
for the record. Also something kind of suspicious, right? No. Everybody was fine with it. They gave Elvis a badge, an honorary DEA badge, so he could go fucking rat out all the fucking people he came across and smoke pot. That's not a lie, folks.
It's true.
It's the straight up truth. And then that hypocrite dies on the toilet from a drug overdose. I tell you what. You know, I tell you what. What a world. What a world we live in. What a world we live in. All right. I don't even know where that started. I honestly just don't even know where that whole brand came from. Oh, shoot. Thanks, everybody, for watching the High Noon Hemp Show. You know, it can only get better, right?
That's right.
All right. Let's get on with some news here. So here is the new headquarters of the Department of Veterinary Sciences of the University of Pisa. All right. Made out of hemp. And so this is, very interesting. Once again, this is a project at the University of Pisa. Their Department of Veterinary Sciences building is going to be built out of hempcrete, or built using hempcrete, not out of, because that implies that. And again, I don't think that they use load bearing either. They frame all of it in as well, no matter what, or their blocks. And I think if they use blocks, they may not have to, or they rebarb the blocks, maybe, and then that becomes, I don't know. There's so much advanced hempcrete building in Europe over what's going on here in the United States. We're still at a very basic level of hempcrete building in the United States for the most part. There's some very cool stuff going on, but we're still can't compete with the large scale hemp building projects that are happening in Europe on a daily basis. So, good on the University of Pisa. Again, I think we're really seeing this more and more everywhere, especially when Happy Weeds Day. That's why, I really think that more and more community buildings and university buildings in Europe are using hempcrete. They're really hip to it as a sustainable use. That's really one of the reasons why a lot of these places are doing it, but it goes beyond the utility of the hempcrete to begin with, as a great insulator, as a fire retardant. You build an entire building out of hempcrete, and all of a sudden, you're safe from the fire if it comes through. You're running into that building, not out of that building. No, unless the fire's inside somehow. Anyway, and so again, it totally makes sense, and we're seeing more and more of it. And there's a small push here in the United States already to get houses rebuilt that have been destroyed in fires, or by fires, or forest fires that happen in a semi-regular basis, as a protective reason. I mean, the ability to think that, instead of having to pack everything up into a car and then try to get out, as opposed to, find the middle of the hempcrete structure and stay away from it. The windows couldn't survive, so that would be a whole nother thing. You might be able to have heat-resistant windows, though, that would survive. I mean, glass is made at a very high heat. Now, can it survive? If it just had to survive the forest fire going around and through the house to the other side and never catching on fire, there's a good chance that the average glass might just be okay. I don't know. But I do believe that you would be 100% be able to build a very nice house with glass windows out of hempcrete that would keep you alive if the forest fire came through. It's just my opinion. I am not a firefighter. I have not tested the theory, other than I've watched a flame hit hempcrete for over 7 hours, and never caught on fire. Okay. Well, if I had a hemp bell to ring, I would ring it ding, 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 ding. Kudos to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the first smart state so far out of all 50 of them, because Wisconsin is going to go ahead and write their own laws now that won't matter if the federal government changes their description of hemp. Okay? And again, any smart state would go ahead and do this. Again, all these smart states that have approved illegally federal marijuana, all they have to do is pass a bill right now. And again, the only thing this bill really did in the long run was put a 21 age restriction on these so-called banned products, which we don't really definitively know what this federal bans. I definitely have to go and read it. I haven't read it. That's my fault. That's me being lazy, because we have 337 days until the thing actually goes into enactment, so to speak. But basically what this bill is going to do in Wisconsin, it's already going to put the protections on the farming, the distributing, and the retail of these products. And the same exact, again, this is how so ridiculously stupid this ban is. Because Wisconsin has to be smart enough to be preemptive in a way that the marijuana industry has had to be from day one. So they're going to legalize these products at a state level. They're never going to invite the federal government in if they're doing this whatever it is that the federal government is banning. Just like, again, I mean, what they're doing. It's full circle. It really is, because they're doing what the marijuana businesses have had to do, and will have to do until the change gets made next year, which is coming. And I keep predicting it, and I'm going to keep predicting it until it happens, or I get better information that says they're going to drop the whole idea of rescheduling or descheduling. Again, reschedule. No one in the existing marijuana world gets to exist. All right. What they would really probably end up having to do is sell to a pharmaceutical company. And then again, totally messes up. Deschedule is where we got to go to make it right, even remotely right for everybody. But the fact of the matter is again, Wisconsin is getting smart enough to say, guess what? We're just going to go ahead and legalize all these products in the state so that our farmers feel good about growing it. And even if it has to stay all in the state. Because, that's the only issue, is after that, And again, they're protecting their own people and their own industry, the citizens, the constituents in Wisconsin. All right. And what's really funny, is we're going to start seeing exactly the states that aren't controlled by the marijuana industry now. Colorado doesn't want to pass this law. They're against this. The marijuana industry in Colorado is totally against hemp. They hate hemp. We won the Prohibition War in 2018 when hemp was taken off the controlled substance list. We won the Prohibition War. And the billion-dollar illegal industry won't give up attacking this is all part of their plan. So good for Wisconsin for protecting. Again, the states that do this are the geniuses. Because now they're gonna protect the farmers, they're gonna protect the distribution, the processing, they're gonna protect the retail, and they're gonna keep everybody gets to keep all the money in the state. Which is kind of how it works now with marijuana. Even though there now some exemption so that you can claim federal taxes or federal income from marijuana. I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other issue that I don't really give a shit about, to be honest with you. I care about the money being made on hemp and the money that's going to be lost. Billions and billions and billions of dollars lost if this federal ban goes through. Wisconsin's saying, not in our state. Wisconsin's probably going to be the first billion-dollar hemp state if all this goes through, because they were smart enough to do this now. Because any state that doesn't start doing this paperwork now, again, if they wait, then they won't have the farmers on board. And if they don't have the farmers on board at the end of the year, it don't make any difference whether the distributors are ready at the end of the year or the retail shops are ready when those products are ready to go. You have to have the farmers. The federal ban hates hemp farmers. Wisconsin loves their hemp farmers. The federal government hates hemp farmers. Listen up, other states. If you're smart, you'll do it. South Dakota, maybe. I don't know. They grow a lot of hemp in South Dakota, but it's kind of different up there. I feel like there is a lot of smart states. A lot of states that would be smart to go ahead and do this. So we'll see. We'll see. I guess, and I don't know how this works, but Chicago aldermen are considering banning hemp in Chicago. Like, what is that? So the aldermen write the laws in Chicago? Like, what's that about? I mean, how do they even have? I thought aldermen were associated with churches. Are they? Or is an alderman a political?
Yeah, I think it's
out there knows. Is that a political position?
Yeah, I think it's city council for is what they call it.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know where I was. I guess that's something that I was not educated on for some reason. I don't know why in my head. And it's probably from some TV show why I thought. Okay, so an alderman is a city council person. All right, I see. Yeah, so I guess they're going to vote to try to ban hemp in Chicago. Chicago hates hemp farmers. And again, whose pocket are these aldermen in? Let me guess. Marijuana? Maybe the alcohol industry? And again, here's what I think is somewhat ironic, but telling, is 3 articles after the article about the Chicago alderman was an article about Chicago being a drinking town and how their drinking is down like a crazy amount, 30%, 60%. I forget what it was. It was a huge amount. I think alcohol is down 30% across the states. And I don't know, I'm gonna have to go back, but I swear they said alcohol is down. Alcohol consumption is down like 60% in Chicago. And once again, now and why? Hemp drinks have a huge amount to do with this. Massive amount to do with this. So much that's why the alcohol industry they're totally behind it. They want control of the hemp drink industries, which is ridiculous. Any state that puts hemp drinks under the control of their alcohol board is making a ridiculously dumb mistake. All right? Hemp drinks are not alcohol. It shouldn't be regulated like alcohol. I mean, I want to know. Let's figure out how many milligrams of THC a person has to drink before they can't drive a motor vehicle. All right, for one thing. Every state should make their own cannabis board, and that cannabis board should be divided between hemp, and if they want to call it marijuana, um, and each one of those has to regulate the legal products that come from them, if that's how they want to do it. Or they just regulate cannabis and it's all the same, which is really the way to do it. Because it takes a lot of the regulations off of hemp that don't need to be there to begin with. And then we just treat it all the same. This is another part that, if anything, needs to be divided up in that cannabis board, and this is, maybe this is how you do it. I'm just proposing this. I'm just nutshelling it. If I wanted to put it on paper, I'm sure I could come up with the exact ways to do it if anybody wants to consult with me in their state as to how to do this right. But go ahead and have intoxicating cannabis and non-intoxicating cannabis. So your hemp clothing and your hemp food are overlooked by this division, and everything else, all your HHC, THC, Delta A, whatever you want to put in that intoxicating section is controlled by the intoxicating section. The only thing to work out there and to be clear on is that CBD and CBN and CBG and terpenes and some of the other things are non-intoxicating. So that goes, in this division. One board, cannabis, two divisions. I mean, they divide up alcohol just relative to how they do alcohol. Your license for beer and wine is one thing. Your license for liquor or control for liquor is another thing. Where you can do it is controlled by the local areas more than anything, counties and cities where prohibition still exists for alcohol, because look at the prohibition for alcohol map. And there are plenty of places in the country that still have prohibition for the sales of alcohol. And what's funny is, like in Kentucky, you now have counties where it's illegal, but cities inside that county that have made it legal. Legal in the state, not legal in the county, legal in the city. And that's the way some of this cannabis stuff could work out. I mean, that's just how it could be. If that's the way the state and the local, you know, the federal bans, prohibition doesn't work. We know that. So it just seems ridiculous to do it anyway. So Chicago, come on, jeez, this is Illinois, man. They have a real. There's a real battle between hemp and marijuana in Illinois. And it's kind of trickled over to Missouri, from my understanding. Because, like in St. Louis, apparently, there's a huge battle going on locally in the local St. Louis area, hemp versus marijuana. And I should say marijuana versus hemp, because hemp's just the innocent bystander. And marijuana is coming by as an illegal citizen,
Yeah.
and smacking hemp on the back of the head and saying, "Get out of my town." That's exactly what it is. It's assault from an illegal entity. Assault from an illegal entity on a completely legal entity. Just mindlessly, I'm just minding my own business over here at Hemptations, selling hemp products, and the marijuana industry comes along and smacks me in the back of the head. You know? It's not trying to kill me. It's just trying to tell me that, in a year, it's going to come back and shoot me. I don't know. I mean, like, here's your warning. I have 337 days until we come back with a bigger stick.
Yeah.
Aye. All right. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, speaking of Illinois, is studying using biosolids fertilizer for hemp grain and fiber. Now, if you don't know what biosolids are, I hope you don't have a weak stomach, but it's our waste. All right? Okay, so, and the biggest issue with using our biosolids as waste, folks, just so you know, is it contains high amounts of PFAs and all this other stuff in it that's not safe to use our poop and waste on food product. Okay? But we know that it's beneficial to plants. This has been worked out, because again, all waste should be used as fertilizer, because our waste should be clean enough for us to use as fertilizer. If all our waste was that way, we probably wouldn't have to pay so much for them to take it away at the end of the day, relatively speaking. So, this is a brilliant study. This could change biosolid use everywhere. All right, because again, it's grain and fiber. They're going to measure the yield. So I said, measure, what is not used biofuel fertilizer. Maybe, I don't know if they're going to use traditional fertilizers or no fertilizers. We'll see. I don't know how the study's going to go down. I'm just spitballing here. But at the end of the day, they're going to measure the yield, height of the plants, weight of the grain, all those good things. But they're also going to measure the soil carbon sequester, the PFA uptake, which is basically, once again, sequestering the PFAs out of the biosolids, and then the remediation potential. You know, one more study that's going to prove that we should be lining every remediation site on the planet with hemp because we know how good it does. The studies have all been done. Well, even the independent, and I don't want to call it an independent study, but recently, when the indigenous people that got their land back that the Air Force was supposed to clean up 30 to 40 years ago when they gave it back to them but never did, and that was part of giving it back to them. Well, they finally said, you know what, we're sick of waiting for you to clean this up. You're not going to, apparently. So we're taking our land back, and we're going to grow hemp on it. And they successfully removed or started the procedure of removing 11 of the 22 chemicals that were in the soil. And I don't know over time if the other 11 what they're finding, but 11 of the 22 hemp was successful at removing. So we already know this, hemp has been used at toxic websites or toxic sites, not atomic, nuclear sites, and we know it's been proven to be a phytoremediator, and I don't understand why again more people aren't jumping on board, either privately or government. Every Superfund site. It just seems like I don't know why. I mean, there's a Superfund site right up in Sharonville. It's a small. We used to ride our quads around this thing, and it's just basically had a high fence with a big sign: "Do not cross this fence," because it's government protected. And they don't know what they were doing to clean it up, other than they had a big fence around it. But they took in money to clean it up. And they should have just been growing hemp on it every year. And again, the biggest part of all of that is what to do with that hemp when we're done with it being the great phytoremediator that we are. Is that fiber still okay to make clothing out of? Does it have any of those chemicals in it? The seed, the grain. Does any of that get into there? If we could do the study that, and I want that study to be intensive. I mean, now I want that study to last years. I want every seed that's grown on land for phytoremediation tested for all of the chemicals that were in the soil that it was removing. Long term, short term, whatever. Because again, I mean, can you imagine? We can use this plant to clean up the soil and then still eat the seed. We can still make the clothing out of it. And the soil is clean. I mean, the goal is, this has always been my goal. It should be every human's goal. We should demand this every day. And this is why I back hemp so much. Clean soil, clean water, clean air. Those three things are things we should have. We can have again. We dirtied them 100%. I accepted that a long time ago. Humans did this. I don't understand why humans can't dedicate themselves to undoing it. And the ignorance around just being like, my life is okay. My use of petrochemical was fine. I'm good. I don't care about the trees. I don't care about the soil. I don't care about the food that I eat that's crap, gives me cancer, and kills me at a young age. I don't care about any of that. I'm okay. It's just ignorant. That's an ignorant way of looking at life. It is not too much for any of us to demand clean water, clean air, clean soil.
Right.
American-style candy store in London raided for selling CBD cookies. How about that? Guess they're not paying attention to what's going on in Florida. Uh, you know, again, I'm not sure what the American style candy store means because I don't. I mean, are there American style candy stores anymore? I mean, what is a candy store anymore? The Shell station? They got as much candy as anywhere else. The old gas station. They don't want us to buy our hemp at the gas station, but they'll sell us our candy at the gas station all day long. So, anyway, I don't know what I'm not 100%. Apparently, CBD is not legal in London, and I'm not. I had thought that CBD was okay in the UK, but I may be wrong. So I'll have to look into that. We'll see. I like the way it's an American style candy store. Like it's the American style candy store's fault because it's an American style candy store for selling these CBD cookies. Couldn't have just been a candy store in London. Oh, it's funny. And, on a funny note, don't give those cookies to your dogs. No. Study has found that CBD may reduce aggression in dogs. I'm almost 100% sure. In my opinion, not a veterinarian, that CBD helps with aggression in dogs. I don't need a study for that, but I'm glad to see that there is a study for that because it is true. I know this firsthand. Not in an aggressive way, but I know that it calmed my Josie down when she had lightning storm attacks or thunderstorm attacks or guns. If she would hear a gun when we were out on the farms, either way, if I gave her CBD, it was the only thing that calmed her down. And so I know how good its calming agents are on a dog. And especially a dog that's known for being aggressive, which is the Doberman. She was never aggressive as a dog. But it did help calm her down a lot. A lot. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services new policy allows for coverage of CBD. So old T-Rump said it, and old Medicaid and Medicare made it happen. So I don't know what that really means, but apparently your CBD should be covered now in Medicare or Medicaid. It won't be legal federally because even the tinctures, the way they're doing this, folks, just so you know, the tinctures that I carry will have more than the allowable THC amount in a product than the federal ban will allow. Okay? Just so you know. So no full spectrum CBD products will exist anymore. But, I guess you just have to claim your CBD isolate, not getting what you want out of it, but you still get your CBD to your Medicare and Medicaid. South Africa is moving forward with the framework to grow hemp, and apparently this is weird. Apparently, I mean, they're even slower than us. In 2018, they legalized hemp, but they never really put anything together, like made any stipulations on it or what. But now I guess they're putting it on paper. They're putting the regulations on it. They're going to get it all worked out. So good for South Africa there. Either way. Here is, I love this. This is called the Apple House. And this is an educational and well-being hub in Surge Hill, Hertfordshire, UK. And it aims to demonstrate how people's lives and well-being can be transformed through working with nature. So once again, this is kind of a community center place that's being built using hempcrete as an insulator. Because there is no Crete. I mean, cob. I mean, I don't know. You can't. I guess we can't define cob as Crete. There is no Crete that is more in touch with nature than hempcrete. And so, uh, I think that we don't see as much of a revitalization of cob, which is relatively the same stuff, other than it's kind of made with mud. Because I don't think cob has the longevity of hempcrete. I don't know uh, how long a cob house exists, but as far as a local idea of building your own home, cob is the best way. And you can, hempcrete is almost the same. You'd have to go find the limestone on your property, I suppose, to make the lime to make the hempcrete. But you could grow the hemp. You could have the water. Either way, whatever. All right. Well, we're going to leave the show with a little hemp nut reading and a couple hemp nut recipes. Super fun hemp nut recipes this week. I believe this is the apple cake. Yes. Now, what I love is there's no hemp in the apple cake. You could figure out possibly how to work that in there. But what this is really showing you is that you can make frosting with hemp. So get a screenshot of that. Well, I'm going to go backwards in the book. I started with the introduction, but I'm actually going to read the foreword, which was before the introduction, or start reading it. Many people in Western cultures relate cannabis with its recreational potential, while some may know that it produces an important natural fiber. Fewer still have accepted it as a safe and efficacious medicine. More recently, the phenomenon food potential of its seed has received some attention, particularly as hemp, the non-drug varieties of cannabis. Similar to soy foods, the advent of hemp seed as food derives from pragmatic Eastern cultures that have used it for thousands of years. While poor people worldwide are malnourished through deficiencies, North Americans, paradoxically, suffer from a malnutrition of excesses. We are literally feeding ourselves to death in a futile attempt to absorb nutrients from the empty foods that permeate our diet. Remember, folks, this book was written 30 years ago, still true today. From a biochemical perspective, there is not another industrial crop that can provide as much easily digestible protein as hemp seed, up to 25% in whole seed and more than 30% in shelled seed. That's weird. Oh, I guess I see what they're saying there. That makes sense. Hemp seed protein is also complete in that all of the essential amino acids are present in nutritionally significant amounts. Hemp soy oil contains very high amounts. There's your wild thing soup. That one's just because it's wild thing soup. Come on. Hemp seed oil contains very high amounts of two essential fatty acids, 6 and 3, which occur in a biologically optimal ratio in this oil. Respectable amounts of gamma-linolenic acid, GLA, and stearadienic acid, SDA, are also present in hemp seed oil. All this in a single seed, in addition to some important vitamins, minerals, and dietary fiber. There you have it. And there's our reading from the Book of Hemp Nut on today's High Noon Hemp Show. Okay, well, we only have one event on the list right now, and that's the Medical Marijuana Holidays Meetup, which is next Tuesday, folks. We're back to Mad Tree. We're going to go 7 to 10, I think, if I remember correctly. I did post, I think finally posted a link. I don't know if I posted it at Temptation Beach, but I'll do it again, to Meetup, the app. And so you can do that. If not, just go to the Meetup app, join, and then find the Medical Marijuana Meetup in Cincinnati. There are more in Ohio now, all inspired by Bonnie's work. down here in Cincinnati. This one was the first branch, so to speak. Anyway, Mad Tree next Tuesday, 7 to 10 here in the High State area. A couple of headlines I'm going to end the show with. National THC ban called Extinction Level Event for Texas multi-billion-dollar hemp market. That's Red River Radio. And then West Virginia state delegate says hemp industry sunset, more of an axe than a scalpel. That was in the West Virginia WVnews.com. And so there we have it. 337 days till the ban. Either way. Thanks everybody for watching the High Noon Hemp Show. We will be back next week. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.